Welcome to my corner of the internet. Well, today I want to talk about a few characters related to the Fanus racism subplot and how their actions mirror parts of real life racism. I want to start with Weiss and how back in Volume 1, she was more than a little prejudiced to the Fanus, calling them all liars, not trusting them specifically because they were Fanus, and even calling Sana slow. She's the perfect example of someone who grows up in a bubble and never leaves their hometown. When this happens, a person isn't exposed to other cultures except through media or others around them that often paint those people in a negative light. Most of her knowledge of faunus probably came from her father or Alice High Society, and she used the attacks on her family as confirmation bias to believe the negative things she heard. Once she was able to attend Beacon, Weiss was already being exposed to different kinds of people and their way of life, especially with the members of, of her team. By the time Blake's secret is out, Weiss is at least starting to think of her fondly, which probably confuses her since Blake was a part of the group she held so much hate for. But Weiss decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and made a friend for life. Because she was able to get away from the closed-mindedness of the Elysians, Weiss was able to broaden her worldview and challenge the idea she was raised on. She now understood her family's place in the greater predicament Faunus faced and actively defends Blake from others who try to verbally abuse her. Because Weiss wanted to take control of her life, she has the chance to help break the cycle of hate moving forward. Now, Adam represents the worst aspects of certain people who join social movements. His drive comes from the pain he endured while getting branded and all of his other encounters with racism. And because of that, people like him think they have the right to hurt anybody they want, whether they are innocent or not. These are the people who join movements for their own personal gain. They don't want to fight for what's right, they want to fight for their time on top as the oppressors. Blake was right to label him as the personification of spite, as we've seen that blind rage can be dangerous, leading him to no longer strive for the betterment of his people and instead aim for power and destruction. Destruction that is sometimes aimed at the people they once wanted to help, and when they're confronted about the pain they cause, they blame others instead of taking responsibility for their own actions. Dealing with people like this can be difficult, but it's important to not let them define the entire movement and remember the core issues that are being fought for. Then we have Ilia, who I think is the best thing to come out of the Faunus racism subplot. Similarly to many black people passing as white throughout American history, Ilia used the fact she could pass as human to take an opportunity that she normally wouldn't have access to. While attending Alice Academy, she would insult her own people in an attempt to fit in, which is sadly something that happens too much. After watching her friends laugh at the incident that killed her parents, Ilia left to join the White Fang to combat racism. But over time, she became conflicted in how things were handled. Her conscience was telling her violence wasn't the way, but pushed aside those feelings because their current strategy produced results. But that kind of change is brought on by fear and not actual progress. This is probably the most common conflict I've seen in people. So many peaceful acts are either ridiculed or just flat out ignored, while the slightest violent act will get nationwide attention and spark discussion. I'm not saying everyone considers joining a radical group, but that lost, conflicting mindset of what to do is what many people experience. It's understandable why Ilia has those feelings and chose the path she did. I'm just glad she was able to have the strength to do the right thing in the end. The topic of racism can be a very difficult concept to discuss and portray in a story. I do think the Faunus racism plotline could have definitely been better, but there were some parts that I could connect with. Seeing and experiencing what those characters have to deal with made aspects more compelling to me. Just I could put myself in their shoes and understand what they were facing. So let me know what you think. How closely some things relate to reality, or things that might not. I'll see you in the next one.